Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Chat with Chamindra. And today also, I have a very special guest in Nadeeka Athukorala. She is a lead UI UX engineer at a reputed software company in Sri Lanka. I hope I told your designation correctly, Nadeeka.
Yes,
So, and
yes.
she's a very profound person when it comes to art and creativity. You must have seen work in Twitter and how she shares her art and all her work. So today's discussion, we are talking about from her about profession, as well as how she generates her ideas on creativity and art, and how she has developed a passion for uh, this creativity and artwork she's doing, which is very inspiring. I have seen her work, and it's very inspiring and very beautiful as well, and it has inspired me when I see them. Uh, when I see all those art she shares on Twitter and all her social media networks. So Nadika, before we start, could you give us a bit of introduction about yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure, Chamindra, and thank you so much for the great introduction you already did. So I'll add some more to it. So as you already know, I'm Nadeeka Athukorala. So I'm currently working as a lead UX designer at IFS in service management and they are also in the mobile framework team. So I am coming from a software engineering background. I did my bachelor's degree in software engineering at SLIIT, and I'm passionate about both creativity and problem solving. So I think that's what gets me into this field. So lately, after graduating and after being a few years in the industry, I also have developed some passion towards sharing knowledge. So I think I have been doing this for from the beginning. Like everything I learn, I tend to share with others. I use that as a way of learning. So that's a few facts about me.
That's great. Super. So, tell me what we will go to UI UX designing bit later to during the conversation. I just want to know what made you fall in love with art. No,
Mhm.
I've seen you doing this. You have gone to various workshops and going and doing the artwork. I think it seems to have motivated you a lot, and it gives you a burning desire to create things that
Yeah,
uh, people have see only in a canvas, right? You see the
yeah,
real one, but if you can interpret it to a canvas, that is some kind of very nice talent. So, what made you fall in love with art, Navik?
yeah. I really like this question because people usually don't ask about the art. It's always about the UX. And like you said, sometimes I also wonder whether I share too much art on my Twitter profile because I think most of the people are there to see the UX stuff, but sometimes I end up sharing more art stuff. But yeah, to answer your question, I think I had a good background from my family from a very young age. So both my dad and his dad can draw. Surprisingly, not surprisingly as well, my dad's both best friends, they are also well-known art teachers. When they are coming to our home, they are also bringing us some art supplies as presents. So, and also my father used to bring us all the art supplies from a very young age, and I remember he taught us all the basics of drawing. So I have a brother. I remember uh, on the early days I tend to draw more human figures, and my brother tend to draw more trees and animals. So that's that I think means both of our personalities. And then from a very young age we started drawing and sketching, and used to paste all those on the walls on our room. So my dad used to wake up in the morning and admire all those things that we have drawn, and I could witness that he enjoys that. I think that is one of the things that made me keep creating even to this day. If I draw something, I send it to my father and get his feedback. And whatever he says, whatever the good things or bad things he says, it keeps me like wanting to create more. So I think that's how I fell in love with art. And there were, like, when I was growing up, there were some other motivations as well. Like, I had some creative people who had unfortunately passed away at a very young age, who were also part of drawing stamps and all, from my paternal grandmother's side. So we had their sketchbooks as well at home. So then, when I was growing up, when I had a little more knowledge about art, I actually followed art as one of the subjects for O levels and until O levels. So then I was studying their sketchbooks, and it made me want to like learn it as a subject. So that's how I fell in love with art.
But it's a very nice story. I think your father is your most, I think, the best critic and the
Yes.
motivator to achieve your dreams. No, that's really
Yeah. Yeah.
nice. This is really nice. So I wanted to ask you on the next question. Now, with your this passion, right, for art and everything, how did I think that must have easily helped you to move into UI UX designing. No, how did you? When did you decided now this my passion?
Hmm.
When when trying doing IT as a
Yeah.
degree of field, you try to mainly focus on being a programmer
Hmm.
or a QA engineer. Then BA comes. Third
Hmm.
part
Yeah.
is the BA position,
Yeah.
and last part is when they think of UI UX,
Yeah.
right? So how did this passion for art, drive you to this UI UX designing profession? How did that path come up?
Yeah. So that's also an interesting story. Like, if I link it to art, so when I did A levels, I did that in stream of science. So then I did took two attempts, and when that didn't work, I had to choose another path. So my initial choice was art and architecture, uh, but my family didn't really like that, and I also had to admit that if I want to go further, I'll have to choose another field. Not saying that those two are bad, but at that point, I some of them I couldn't actually afford, so I had to look for another option. And then I realized I my brother used to follow information technology as a subject, so that influenced me to select information technology. But still, I wanted to follow multimedia, but my brother insisted that I should do software engineering. But I think he gave a good advice. So, but anyway, I ended up selecting software engineering. But like I mentioned, from that very young age, I kept creating things. Even at school, I did most of the creative stuff. Even when we have events at school, from creating invitation to everything, I used to volunteer for those things, and those kind of habits I kept it up. And now when I reflect back at those events, I think it was visible for everyone that I'm a creative person. I do creatively everything. So when I was at university also, people used to notice this, and then my friends and some of the seniors started suggesting that you might be a good UX designer in future, because they combine this software engineering and the creative part that I had. So that's the first point of feedback that I got, that from outside world. And then when I was involving in the university projects also, I naturally tend to be the UX designer in that project. And my friends also always influencing me to take that role. I must say that I had really good batchmates who influenced all those things. Uh, so yeah, that's how I was n- narrowing down towards UX designer path while at university. And then I got a chance to do an internship, and there also I didn't directly go for the UX designing. I thought of going for quality assurance. But while at that, I got a chance to witness how the UX designers work, and it really gave me a chance to compare and contrast whether I should really choose UX or whether I should be in quality assurance. And it came to a point where I couldn't resist my urge to switch to UX, so I made that career transition at that point.
I think it's good you changed it. And I think
Yeah.
I came from, and from your story, what I feel is you have got such a very nice circle of friends, some people who have motivated you and driven you to achieve your passion and dream. No, that's
Yes.
really that happens when it comes to,
Yeah.
career wise or education wise. When you if you don't have that support system, many
Mm,
people fail and they don't know what they are going to do with their life, and they just focus on something and they just do it
mm,
for the sake of doing it. But I
yeah.
think you're one of those lucky people who have got that support system working for you from a young age to this date to achieve your dreams, and I think you have achieved that as well. Said,
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. I
That,
like to add something to that, Chamindra.
yeah,
Yeah. I admit that I have been lucky to always like meet people who always influence me and support me. And I think one of the key things to have such people is to whenever you came across such people who influence you or support you in a way, even though they might be doing those things without expecting anything from
yeah,
you, but you should acknowledge that always,
correct.
so it will help you to attract more of such supportive positive people, and they will also stay in your life because they know that you acknowledge them, you are not taking them for granted.
Okay, yes, yes, that's correct. You have to acknowledge them, and at least giving a word of thank you will inspire
Yeah.
them to help you out more. Eh? That's the
Yeah.
thing we are saying. That's correct. It's very true. Very true. I wanted to ask you another question, Nadeeka. Now, before going to UI UX,
Mhm.
uh, just I'm very curious about to know is what inspires you, and how is it theory, what I've read and heard is creativity is something that you can't learn. It
Mm.
comes naturally from
Yeah.
observation, from experimenting. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that? How do you spark creativity in a person? From interactions. What
Mhm.
are your thoughts? Can you share some thoughts and ideas about that?
um yeah, I also used to say that creativity is a superpower. For some people it comes innately and they don't know where it comes from. But as I grew up, what I realized was it's coming from your own experiences. Uh, the more you live in the moment, you more you gather things that feeds your creativity. It could be you just staring at the sunset and realizing all the different colors that particular sky has, and maybe you are looking at a person and realizing all the tiny moments they take and how their hand moves, how they walk, and etc. So even if we take a subject like animation, uh, when you are going to animate something, you have to know, like, if let's say you are going to animate someone who's walking, you have to know which joints they are moving when walking and in which tempo and everything. So just an example. So I think living in the moment and being very observant is something that feeds your creativity. It helps you come up with all sorts of new ideas, which helps you for solve the problems.
And sometimes staying silent in silence also creates creativity. I think
Yeah,
when you said you are looking at a sunset, or just just walking on the road, right?
yeah,
If you're going to the supermarket or bringing some goods and coming back home, that
hmm,
day, that small half an hour walk would just create something, spark a new idea or
yeah,
something that can inspire you to do great things. Yeah,
yeah,
that's really great. It's
absolutely.
really great. Super, super. So I just come into this UI UX part for a bit. I wanted to ask you now,
Mhm.
if this for benefit of all the audience, because we have
Mhm.
various audience who's watching this video. So I want to ask you, what is the difference between what is UI UX and why is it important when it comes to software development? Why is it
Mhm.
important? Why is a part of important part? Because it is something what I've seen is managers try to ask, they treat the UI UX guys as just some utility person, or just if you want
Mhm.
to do a just ask the UI UX
Yeah.
person to do a sketch and send it to us so we can improve.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
kind of a mindset is there.
Yeah.
So, but they are part of a team, right? They are also playing important role as the other team members of software development team. So,
Mm.
can you just give an explanation on that partner?
Yeah. So in my point of view, uh, user experience is not something that is there in software. It is in everything that we use or consume. So like Don Norman once takes an example like from peeling of a banana uh, to the from the way that you that interact with your social media on a mobile app. I think everything is user experience. But in terms of software, so why we need a UX designer is to basically to add that human factor into the everything that we build. I know business analysts also does a great job in analyzing the business requirements and understanding the business goals. But a UX designer helps you to understand the problems from more from a user's point of view, and like for whom we are building things, and what are the current experiences that they have, and how our product is going to change that current experience. Is it for the betterment of them, and what kind of problem that we solve for them? So keeping the user in the center of our process is what we always help others with. UX designers can also help with creating UI designs. That's also part of our job, but it's not just the only job that we do. Uh, it's also a part of our job to do the user research, understand their pain points, their requirements, any desires that they have, any expectations, their current experiences. And then once we come up with ideas, also then we have a part where we go back to them and test our ideas and figure out which way is the best way to go forward with. Uh, so I think in that way, user experience is crucial. And also, if we think in terms of businesses, so if there isn't a user experience designer, the cost that we have to bear if a product fails is greater than if than the cost that we will include by having a UX designer from the beginning. Because all the things that we would realize from a failed product, that okay, my user didn't want this,
Yeah.
so we have to do it from scratch. So all
In
those
the end,
things we
it's in the end user who's using the application
yeah
or the the system that you're
yeah
building, and you're
yeah
designing and developing for humans, right? There should be someone who's using it.
yeah
That's
so
something
yeah
I think
base
many organizations fail to understand. They build the system, but they forget
yeah
that human is the one who's going to use it. That's something
yeah
they forget.
so at the end, if the users reject it, there's no point of building that. So we could have avoided all those things if we have a proper UX process and the designers and the researchers in our team. Yeah, so that's
I think
my point of view.
I think that's why we have user acceptance testing as well. User acceptance testing.
Yes.
The thing is, what I've seen is, I don't know, you have might have experienced this as well. Many users, if we don't give them the, I mean, experienced users, we
Hmm.
think they only the functionality. But
Hmm.
if it's a real user, they will always check if this can be is usability there. Can I use the
Yeah,
system without too much much learning, very
yeah,
easily to understand or learn. So that's something that we forget most of the time when we are building systems, isn't it? So that's an aspect that
yeah.
any system, I think. Does it change when it comes to mobile applications? Is there any complexity there? I'm just asking because from a
You
mobile
mean when
application
it comes
development
to,
point of view. Yeah,
yeah, I think the basics doesn't change, but when it comes to mobile applications, there's a huge pressure on us because it's rapidly developed and people are used to use very advanced mobile devices and also applications in day-to-day life. So as someone who is working in enterprise software, so there was a time that we used to think enterprise software doesn't need to look good, doesn't need to have fancy functionalities, things like that. But the today's user is someone who uses Facebook, X, or used to be Twitter, everything. So they are used to fancy animations. They know the modern interaction ways. They use latest mobile phones. So if the app that they use at work is still looks like something from 90s, they will reject it or they will get frustrated. The thing about enterprise software is that the users still cannot reject it because it's part of their job. So even though it's painful, they might have still used to use that application to get their work done. So it's part of our responsibility to make their lives easier and also a little bit enjoyable. So I think when it comes to mobile world, that's the challenge we have. The users are rapidly learning about the new technology, so we have to keep up with that, especially being in enterprise software. There's a challenge of balancing all those modern interactions and all the heavy functionalities that we have.
great, superb. I can understand how pressurized you must be when it comes to doing your work. I just wanted to ask you another one. Question is related to the same. Now,
Hmm.
now you are doing this. When you are doing this UI UX, I think the BA's requirements are very essential, right?
Yeah.
So, what sort of expectation this for the benefit of business analysts who must be
Mm,
watching this video,
mm,
because they don't consider this. They
mm,
consider about the use. They sometimes when BAs do their user stories or anything, they think of the testing part, but
mhm.
they from a QS benefit, QS point of view, but they forget about the people who they also look at your requirements and they do the UI UX designing part, right? So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
sort of expectation do you have usually from your point of view? What sort of
Mm,
expectation do you have from a BA
mm,
when it comes to giving your requirements? What sort of uh,
yeah.
expectation do you have from them?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think Chamindra, it depends on the organization and sort of processes that we follow. But at my current workplace, we call them product specialists. Again, a BA role. So I really enjoy working with the product specialist because it takes a lot of burdens I have uh, away from me. Because the product specialist comes with all the necessary knowledge about the product. So whenever I need more in-depth knowledge, I can go to them and they will provide me with all the scenarios that they have currently and all the business goals that we need to achieve. So while they are doing that, I can focus on the users part and I can focus on ideating new things and they will have uh, the all the completed knowledge about the existing functionality and whatever the things that they plan for future. So having someone to cover all those things gives me enough space to take care of the new things and come up with the ideation or maybe do the research and also do the testing of new ideas. Uh, so I think BA role is a good facilitator and a great combination to work with, like BA and UX and also QA. So usually I call QAs guardians of the design because whatever I design is guarded by them. So likewise, I think BA is the one that who helps us to plant that seed at first. because during those the analysis and research phases, we really need a BA to work with us to take care of all those documentation and everything. Uh, so I think it's very crucial for us to have a BA. So my expectation from a BA is to summarize, to have in-depth knowledge about the domain that we are working with, and have a pretty good understanding about the business goals that we have, and always keep the UX design in check with those things, so we don't miss out on the business goals, and especially the any deadlines or any business processes that we have to follow. So yeah, that was my
Great.
expectation.
That's great. Great. So what just to have a summary, just to summarize what you said, I think it's all about teamwork in the end, right? Every
Yeah,
team member has to play their role correctly to
yeah,
achieve the final success of your product and what you are doing.
yeah.
That's great. Super. So Nanika, so I just wanted to ask you two questions. So before we end the session, first one, what sort of advice do you like to give to anyone who likes to start on a UI UX career,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
the second question, of course, uh, I wanted to ask you was what you have come this long way, from learning from art, and
Mhm.
very very few people who have been able to achieve this kind of thing. You do finally do something that you love to do, but some people are confused. They think they don't have any talent or anything. They don't strive to see that they
Mhm.
have this problem, and they when they are working also they think, am I doing the right job? They are always confused, right? So what
Mhm.
sort of advice can you give to anyone who's in a dilemma? What are my
Mhm.
talents that I don't know? So I
Mhm.
just do the job for the sake of money only. I know
Mhm.
that in the current situation people think about only
Yeah.
about money, but still, some kind of passion should be there for the work
Mhm.
you are doing. Otherwise, you can't
Yeah.
do succeed. So, what sort of advice you can give to those two parties? So, we'll conclude
Yeah.
based on those two questions. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'll first answer your first question. So, for someone who is planning to come into the UX career, um, I think first they have to have empathy. It's everyone. I know this word has been used too many in instances, and it has almost lost its value. But I still believe if someone wants to be a UX designer, they have to be truly someone with empathy, because not just because you have to understand your users' needs and everything. Yes, you have to understand them, uh, but in many scenarios, like you asked previously, you have to work with a lot of people, not just with users. You Yes, you have to talk with users and understand them, read between the lines when they answer your questions. So that definitely needs empathy. But also you have to work with a lot of people, from BAs to developers, from leadership to QAs. So there are a lot of people that you are working with. So it's a teamwork, like you said. So if you don't have empathy, if you cannot understand another person's situation, it's really difficult to be the resource, like you mentioned. So when you are a UX designer, you are a resource in a team. You cannot be that resource if you don't have empathy towards others. So I think first thing is to have empathy, so it will make things really natural for you, if you are always working with the attitude that I'm helping this person. So that's number one. And then if you want to become a UX designer, for the very young ones who are just starting, I would say just educate yourself, read about the theories and everything. Sometimes I tend not to share the theories and all the educational things, because there are plenty of educational materials on the internet. I sometimes personally feel like there's no need of recreating them. So my ask for newcomers is to make use of them, and you have to make sure that you read the more reliable resources like Nelson Oman Group, and there are several other reputed websites and books and even YouTube channels that you can follow. So make use of them. They are free knowledge. So there's no point of like always trying to spend some money and trying to um, educate yourself, but make use of the free resources as well. But if you can spend money, then you can follow some good UX courses and get certifications, things like that. And also for the newcomers, I think one of the easiest way to convince someone at the interviews is that to having your design skills polished. The things like user research skills and all the other skills you can build once you are in the industry. You can learn from seniors and learn by experience. But if you have the design skills which you have already practiced with your pet projects or your own challenges, then you can showcase those designs at an interview and secure a position. Because then once they recruit you, they can give you something to create and you can start creating. Then along the lines, you can learn all other skills. Um, and also, while you are practicing, you have to get feedback from others. There's no point of practicing and keeping all those things to yourself. So, you have to reach out to people, share your work, and get their feedback. So, networking is important. I would ask them to take opportunities to network. If you cannot reach out to people individually, go for those events where all the people gather and listen to what they share. And even after the event, if you can really reach out to them, talk to them. I think most of the seniors and the people that are already in the industry are willing to help to newcomers to share their knowledge. You just have to reach out. That's something that I always believe. So those are the things that I have to say for the newcomers in a very brief way. And to your second question, I myself don't believe that I have achieved everything. I'm just I'm just always in a way of reinventing myself. I like to experiment things, change my habits, and then sometimes I starting all over. Uh, so I personally not in a mindset that I have achieved everything. I still think that there's a very long way to go. Uh, and I sometimes it could be like even for the people who looks like have everything together, they can have imposter syndromes. I have felt it at some points, but I think it's okay because if you are evolving and if you are, let's say, at work, you are being promoted to a new role, then it's a new role. You haven't done it before, so it's fair enough for you to feel like an imposter in your role. So my advice for the second category is that do not think that you are an imposter. Just keep doing your best. Like one of those actors mentioned, like only thing that matters is doing your best. If you keep doing your best every day, when you look back one day, you might have done great things. So keep things simple, keep doing your best. I think that's the best thing you can do.
Was really nice. Thank you, Nadika. I think you have given some great points there. I think anyone who even starting a career in IT, even they will even, that advice I think is very helpful to them. Just to you have to start somewhere, right? You have to just start it, and then while you are doing it, you can learn and proceed and achieve the goals you want to achieve. So thank you so much, Nadika. I mean, that was a really great advice you gave, and thank you so much for joining today to chat with Chamindra and give sharing your ideas and thoughts. It's been really very nice and very inspiring as well. And I urge you to do your artwork. I mean, do the creative work you are doing continuously. And I wish you all the power and all the strength to continue what you are doing. And I hope
Thank you,
you have
Chamindra.
one of your own art competitions one day. So
Yeah.
I hope that's a dream of yours. I hope That is one thing.
Thank you for inviting me for this, Chamindra. And like I previously mentioned, you're also one of the people who always give positive feedback and keep motivating. And I see you do it for many people as well. And thank you for being such a person to everyone. And yeah, like you mentioned, I might have a little idea about like combining all these UX and art one day.
Yeah,
Let's see.
great.
And yeah, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for
No
inspiring
worries.
others.
No worries. Thank you, Nadika. Thank you so much. So I urge, yeah, the audience to follow Nadika on Twitter. I wish her Twitter handle details after this session. It will be there. So just follow her, talk to her. If you are someone who's new to the industry, just talk to her, get inspired, learn from her. She has really nice thoughts, ideas, even learnings, her experiences. She shares them online. So do follow her, give her a follow, and just learn from her. And thank you so much. And I wish you all the very best, Nadika. We'll connect again soon. Day.
Sure. Thank you, Chamindra. Have a good
Thank you
night.
very much. Okay. Cheers. Bye.